Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeri Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavadvyaptadehaaya Dakshinamurtaye Chaitanyam Sarvagam Sarvam Sarvabhutaguhashayam Yat Sarva Vishayatitam Tasmai Sarvavide Namaha. Verse number 11. Koshadiva vinishkrishtaha Karyakaranavarjitaha Yatha sirdrishyate swapne Tadvad bodha swayam prabha. Yatha asihi koshad vinishkrishtaha Yatha drishyate swarupena drishyate Vinishkrishtaha prasakritaha, separated from, taken out from the koshad, in this case, the sheath or the scabbard in case of a sword. Drishyate, interesting, important is prasakra swarupena drishyate. How the sword is drishyate is seen, known, swarupa as it is, when it is taken out from or separated from the scabbard which was concealing it. Now, without concealment, it can be clearly seen in its own nature. So, after Drishyate, the second line is a comma. Not Drishyate, Swapne, Drishyate. Swapne Tadvat Bodha Swayam Prabha Drishyate. Tadvat in a manner similar to that. Bodha Suprasakritaha Karya Karana Varjitaha. In case of sword, it is separated from the scabbard. In case of Atma, it should be separated from the kosha or the sheets, which is Karya and Karana. That means the personality, the body, mind, sense complex, the names and forms, which can be categorized as Karya and Karana, effect and cause. So this gross body is called Karyam, subtle body is called Karanam, And the causal body is called Karana. So Karya, Karana, Karya. What is meant by the Atma being concealed by this Karya, Karana, Karana personality is the identification. In this case, in case of a sword, a scabbard literally conceals or covers the sword. In case of Atma, this Karya, Karana, Karana, the body, mind, sense complex, does not really conceal the Atma. If they could conceal the Atma, Atma would never be known as long as the body is there. But this kosha or the sheath, as it's called, is koshavat achadakatvat. Not that the body conceals the Atma, gross body, subtle body, conceal the Atma. Because of the habitual identification with them, ignorance creates the habitual identification of the body, and so dehoham, this notion is created. It is dehoham which deprives of the knowledge brahmevaham. But I am is Brahman, which is shining. The I is shining as Brahma, Brahma is shining as I. But that is not so recognized because dehoham, this body, places itself in the safe of the place of the self. The body claims to be the self. It's an imposter, not really the self, but then it's an imposter which claims to be the self. And as long as I do not investigate this conclusion or this notion that I am the body, so long the imposter remains. The imposter means one who is posing as something. The body, the mind, all of them are posing as Atma. And unless I investigate, and that I will never do. There's no reason to believe that my conclusion that I am the body has anything wrong in it. It is that somebody has to bring it to my attention that look what you are thinking is wrong. And the reasons are being presented. There's no consistency in your in your conclusion about the self. It keeps changing, etc. So in the case of the Atma, it is not the body or the sense organs or the mind or the intellect that conceal the Atma. It is the identification with them, the habitual identification. Dehoham, Indriyanyaham, Manaham, Buddhiraham. And the notions arising from them, those notions are called kosha. And they as though conceal, meaning they deprive me of the knowledge of the true nature of the self. So only way we will know is when these fellows are not present. When the body, sense organ, and mind, which in the waking state create a habitual identification and create the false notions and thus deprive me of the knowledge of the true nature of the self. When these fellows are not there, that is when Atma shines in its own glory. It always shines. The glory that was as though usurped, hijacked by this upadhi. But upadhi is not there, then there is no to hijack. Then Atma shines as separated from this upadhi. The karya kana sanghata. That is why the dream. In the dream, the karya kana sanghata is not there. Karya in gross body is not there. Karanam, subtle body, also essentially not there. Meaning that this is not there to create the notions from identification. Even though in the dream also I do identify the dream body and the dream mind, and so similar samsara continues. But we can stand aside from the dream and analyze the dream. That's what Shruti does. By a series of questions, Kin Jyotirayam Purushaha. What is that Jyoti that in fact illumines this Purusha or the person, the Karyakana Sanghata? So casual answers are given the sun and the moon and the fire and the speech. So one by one, this Karya Karana Sanghata is eliminated, understand? By eliminating the illuminator, the illumin also is eliminated, and therefore we come to a dream state where there are no illuminator, no conventional illuminators at all, which means there should be darkness in the dream. There is not. So it becomes very clear that the sun and moon, etc., shine in a dream, which are at the cosmic level, and eyes and mind and speech at the individual level also. Even though that verse or mantra talks about the luminaries, cosmic luminaries, Adideva, you should also understand the Adhyatma at the individual level. The corresponding luminaries are organs of perception, speech, mind. And so by eliminating these luminaries, it becomes very clear to the student that these luminaries are not there in the dream. That's how they are separated. And still the dream shines. The dream world is shining, is illuminated. Without the conventional luminaries, it is still illuminated. The student recognizes that the luminaries such as sun, moon, etc. in the dream are not these luminaries. They are all projected by mind. Tatrayam Purusha, Atrayam Purusha, Swayam Jyotihi. So Karya Karana Varjita, this is how the Viveka was done there. It's all Atma and Atma, but every Prakriya is different, we must know. So luminaries are all Anatma. But illumined by them also is Anatma. And none of them is there in the dream. And still light of illumination is there. Therefore, what the luminary that cannot be negated. These luminaries can be negated. The sun, when it said that Astamite Aditya, that means the sun is negated. Sun sides. Astamite Chandramasi. So similarly, Shantayam Agnu Avachi, Shantayagnu Shantayam Vachi. That's the way of slowly negating them. So therefore, dream is a very brilliant setup for analyzing, where these luminaries are negated one by one. And still, that King Janaka recognizes that, then who illumines that? Kin Jyotiram Purusha. Because in dream also, Purusha is illumined. So, what is it? Karma kurute, palyayate, vipalyati, karma kurute, palyayate, vipalyati. He does things, goes out, comes back. Similar vyavahara is going on in dream also. So there is some Jyoti for sure. None of these conventional Jyotis. The only Jyoti that is left now is Atma. In the waking state, Atma Jyoti was there, other Jyotis also were there, Therefore, the dream state where all the jyotis are negated by by Ishvara's scheme, not by our effort. There was Swapne, Bodha, Swayam Pravaha. It is very clear that the Bodha, the self here, because in the dream, the subject, object, all of the whole world, the drashta, drishyam, darshanam, drashti, all of this is eliminated there. So there the eliminator is one who eliminates all of that. That's the Atma. Swayam Prabha Drishyate. So this is how this prakriya enables the student to negate one jyoti after the other. When all the jyotis are negated and light is still there, to make him see that that is light that you are. That's how the student realizes his own self as self Swayam Prabha. Then the Tika continues, Atmanah kartrutvadi pratibhasasya swapratibhasavan mithyatvat. So it is established in all this discussion that Atma kartrutvadi pratibhasasya. The Atma is karta, bhokta, aham bhokta, is a pratibhasa. Kartrutva, bhoktrutva is pratibhasa. The Atma shines or appears as karta, bhokta. And Swapna, that is why it is equated to the Pratibhasa is there in Swapna is very clear. That whatever we experience in dream is all projection of mind, is all appearance of mind. Because it is our experience that it is negated when we wake up. So it is shown how Kartrutva, Bhoktrutva also are Pratibhasa, was my earlier discussion. Because there is Vibhichara. So Mithyatvat. That these are again for Mimamsakas who take Atma as Karta Bhokta. Or some other people who accept that Atma is Karta Bhokta also and Atma is Brahma also. Veda Vedavadina. So then Veda that Atma is Karta Bhokta, but that Kartrutva, Bhoktrutva is not the reality of our Atma, it is Pratibhasa, superimposed in Atma the soul. So only thing is a Veda. So to arrive at the Abheda, you don't have to stretch yourself so much. Shuddheva Atma Brahmavedi Shastrat Avirodhene Pratyetum Shakyatvat. Shastra itself says so clearly. The Shuddheva Atma Brahmayeti. The Shuddha Atma is Brahma. Not the Pratibhasit Atma, the Karta Bhokta is not Brahma. The Pratibhasa of Kartrutva, Bhoktrutva, when it's seen as Pratibhasa and therefore negated or let go, then Shuddha Atma is Brahma. Iti Shastrat Avirodhene Pratyedum Shakyatva. So sometimes the things are not very clear in what Shastra says. In some cases, the statements are very clear. So Upanishad helps us arrive at this, not just makes a statement. Shastrat avirodhenaya pratyetum shakyatvat. The Shuddha eva atma brahmaiti brahmaivaiti. Atma is Shuddha and Atma is Brahma alone. That the Upanishad very clearly shows you. Avirodhena, without any virodha arising in your mind. You can see this. Pratyedam shakyatva. That means that from Upanishad itself, it is possible for you to know that Atma is Brahman. The Atma is Shuddha, not Karta, Bhokta and Brahma. The Bheda Veda Kalpanaya Manah Khedaniyam. So you don't have to take a circuitous view or circuitous route of establishing Bheda and Abheda of Atma. So much stress strain you give to your mind for justifying that. Manana Khedaniyam. Do not strain your mind for arriving at and justifying the Veda Veda. Iti Siddhartha. So what is already established in the previous verse is that Atma is Brahma. Sopakramam Vakyam Pramanamaha. There, the Vakya is Pramanam. Upanishad very clearly says Atma is Brahma. So we read the verse number 12. Apeshat Pratibuddhasya Jnasya Svabhavikam Padam Uktam Netyadivakyena Kalipitasyapane. Jnasya Svabhavikam Padam. Jna means Jnata, Kshetrajna, or the conscious being, or the Jiva, or the self. Svabhavikam Padam. Svabhavikam Rupam means Swarupam. Is Uttam. There, the essential nature of Jna or the Atma is stated. Na ityadi vakyena neti neti by the Vakya. The essential nature of Atma is stated. And what does it? What is negated? Kalpitasya apanetruna. That whole teaching which helps us to apanetruna, the one that removes apanita. So apani means to remove, apanetruna. So that vakyena, the vakya or the sentence or the statement, which negates, which removes, kalpitasya. What is kalpita? So what is kalpita projected or imagined alone can be negated. So that neti neti vakya, which negates all that is projected, and then what remains is the very self as Brahman. Swabhavikam padam yuktam, that Atma is Brahma is clearly stated there by the Vakya neti neti. That is Vakya. And what that Vakya does is enables the aspirant to negate what is Kalpitam, what is projected on Atma, and thus arrive at the Swabhavikam Padam, the essential nature, which is what? Non-negatable, abaditam. So, apeshat pratibuddhasya jnasya. Which jna? Which self? Apeshat pratibuddhasya. Buddhasya, the one who was woken up. Apeshat, by shaking him up. One is woken up by shaking that fellow. What is his true nature? It's an interesting way of helping us to know or see the nature of the self by the example of a man who is sleeping. So this is a story that is told in the Ajatashatru Brahmana. So this is a famous dialogue where we have seen this before, where Gargya, Balaki, the Balaki, the arrogant Balaki, who is Gargya Gopannadhara Gargya, approaches the king Ajat Shatru, who is the king of Kashi, and makes an offers Brahmate Brahmaneti, I will teach you about Brahman. Ajasura welcomes that and requests him to please teach me, and then Gargya, describe Brahman one by one, all Saguna Brahman, which he had realized. In short, what is the cosmic self, the prana, the Hiranyagarbha, in this case prana, which at the individual self as well as the cosmic level, is what Gargya arrived at as the ultimate reality by the process of meditation. So, by meditation, you can arrive at this. And arrive at means realized that I am prana, that cosmic prana is the self of the cosmos. And that is the Devata, Purushachati Devatam, that Purusha, the cosmic self, is of the nature of Devata. All the Devatas are the various limbs of this cosmic Purusha. One is the Virat, which is the cosmic gross Purusha. Other is the Prana, which is the cosmic subtle Purusha. And this is what Gargya presented as the self, and which Jat Shatru kept on saying, this much I know, this I know. Let us go further. And this Gargya ultimately got exhausted and had nothing to say. Sah Tushrim Asa Gargya. When Gargya realized that Ajata Shatru all he knows, everything that he knows, then nothing more remains to be said, then he became silent. He became humble by recognizing that there is something that I do not know and something that Ajat Shatru knows. So when he became silent, he also became humble. Not smarting with injury and stuff like that. So this was very important that Gargya didn't walk out. He became silent and humble. And so Ajatasattu teased him. This is all you know? If this is all you know, well, by knowing this much, you don't really know the truth. And that's how Gargya, who had become humble, recognized, and he offered that Upatva Yaniti, please initiate me into this Vidya. I approach you as your disciple. So Ajatasattu again say in all humility, Pratilolam yad brahmana kshatram upayad brahma me vakshati. It's quite contradictory tradition that a brahmana should approach kshatriya seeking Brahma Vidya is contrary to tradition. Pratiloma is a reverse flow. Therefore, tasmad he gargya tum acharyeva tishtha. So this is a very unique situation here, where Ajatasattu say, Gargya, you remain acharya because you're a brahmana. So, keeping you at the level of acharya, but still, Vyevatvad Nyapayishyamiti. Vi evatvad Vignapayishyami. Tva Vignapayishyami evaiti. I will certainly make you see, not teach you, as Acharya would teach. Nevertheless, Vignapashyami eva Vignapanam eva karishyami. You retain your status of Acharya and still I'll make you see the true nature of Brahma, true nature of self. So this is a very unique thing about this dialogue here. Yasmin jnate sarva bhaved. You known Brahman, but you have not become Sarvavid. I'll make you see Brahman, by knowing which you become Sarvavid, you become all knowing. So this Upakrama, with this background now, Garga naturally feels very sort of very shy or has a sense of shame within himself. That what happened? I came here, it's a big deal offering the Brahman, and look at what has happened. Tam Gargam Salajjam Raja Pano Saste Adaya. And Gargi was feeling, sort of shy or ashamed. It is not right that your disciple should feel ashamed. You should not shame the person and then expect him to learn or her to learn. Some people do that. Make you feel your place, that is where you are. No. Then the disciple is no more in a mood or in a state of mind that he can learn. So Ajat Shatru wants to remove the lajja, the sense of shame that arose in Gargya. Tam Raja Pano Haste Adaya Gavitva. He held the hand of Gargya and make him get up. Both of them went together, that we are together. Not that I am higher and you are lower. Thus Vishwasa Janaya Uttitavan, to create Vishwasa in him, make him stand up, and they went. Kvachid Rajgura Pradeshe Suptam Purusham Prati Ajagmatuhu Agatau. Both of them are walking in the palace and they came across a sleeping man. Tantus now, Ajata Shatru first of all has to negate as Anatma whatever Gargya thinks is Atma. Gargya thinks that Prana is Atma and Prana is the conscious entity that enlivens everything. This is his conclusion. That Prana is not consciousness, Prana is not even conscious entity. So that is not the swarup of this jnana or the individual self. Therefore, tam etaihi namavihi amantrayan chakre. Deliberately, Ajata Shatru addressed the sleeping man by this name. Bruhan, he Bruhan, he Pandaravasa, he Soma, he Rajanidhi. This Bruhan, Pandaravasa, Soma, Raja, they're all name of Chandra. And Chandra is the presiding deity of Prana, so they are names of Prana. Sana Uttasthav, in spite of addressing him by his names. The whole idea is that as Gargya thought that Prana is the Atma, Prana is the conscious entity here, Prana is Karta Bhokta here. Now, if that was the case, and it is evident that the sleeping person is breathing, meaning Prana is alive, is why I should awake. So then when Ajatashatru addressed him by the names of Prana, then that fellow should wake up. Bruhan Pandaravasa Soma Rajan na Uttastho. But then that person did not wake up. So what does it? It means that Atma. Because prana is awake and still does not hear. If prana was Atma, then to hear would be would be natural to him. Because a conscious being hears and sees. So inherent. He did not the hearing is not inherent in Atma means that prana is not the conscious being. Tam payana apesham bodhyan chakara. When the sleeping person did not wake up by calling his names of prana, then he was shaken up by hands. Ajaz shook him up with his hand and then uttasthav, he woke up. So this means that body also is not Atma. If body were Atma, then body also is very much there and would have listened. Prana is not Atma because prana also was awake. So gross body is not Atma. Subtle body is not Atma. See, this is how Atma and Aviveka done in different way here. So we come to our own verse here. Apeshat pratibuddhasya jnasya swabhavikam padam. What's the inherent nature of the person who is sleeping? Sleeper is not inherent because sleeper is negated by waker. Waker is not inherent because he is negated by dreamer. Each one displaces the other, therefore they cannot be the inherent nature. That Atma cannot be waker, dreamer, deep sleeper. So to determine what the essential nature of Atma is, Ajashu asked Gargya. Sahovac Ajasha Yatra Eshas Esat Supta Abhud Yesha Vijnanamaya Purusha Kwesha Tada Abhut. Here this Vijnanamaya Purusha, this conscious being, where was he in the deep sleep state? Kuta etat agaditi. When he went to sleep, then where did he go? And when he woke up, when did he come from? The idea is that deep sleep is a state where the self goes to its own nature. See, this is the advantage of deep sleep now. Here, this analysis of deep sleep state. Then di sata somya tada sampanno bhavati. At that time, the Atma becomes identified with Sat or Brahma. So answer would be, where did he go? He went to Brahman, his own nature. Where did he come back from? To samsara. He became liberated, went to his own swarupa and then came back to samsara. Meaning identified. What is called waking up is identifying. What is dreaming is identifying with the subtle body, waking is further identifying with the gross body. So Atma that was free by nature in deep sleep state sequentially got identified with the subtle and gross body, then became a samsari, became a waker. That shows the process of samsara. What is samsara? How Atma identifies. Not that Atma becomes a samsari, but he feels I am a samsari on account of identification. Therefore, samsaritvam is mithya, so it can be negated. So, this is a very brilliant way of instructing Gargya about the essential nature of Atma. So, this is what is referred to here. Then the Upanishad describes the deep sleep state. What is the deep sleep state? How Atma withdraws consciousness. Waking up from deep sleep to waking is Atma progressively making the different aspects of personality conscious. First the buddhi, then the manaha, then the indriyani, then the gross body. And what is deep sleep then? Withdrawing the consciousness. In the waking state, the Atma is in the like a right eye on the sense organs from where it functions. In the deep sleep state, Atma withdraws consciousness. First from the sense organs, that is gross body, then from the mind. So in the waking state, he is in the right eye of the sense organs. In the dream state, he is supposed to be in the neck, on the throat. In the deep sleep state, he withdraws and to heart. So this is the way of describing. Withdrawing consciousness. The rays of consciousness are withdrawn from the sense organs first, therefore there is no waking. The mind second, then there is no dreaming. And the Atma goes to the heart and sleeps there in his own essential nature. So this is what is described in the Upanishad there. Now the Upanishad refers to this neti neti. For that you have to go to the second chapter in this second, the second Brahmana. There, this is called Murta Brahmana, where the whole samsara or universe is described as Murta and Amurta. The cosmic Upadhi and the individual Upadhi. Deva Brahmana Rupe Murtam Chaiva Amurtam Cha. Brahman manifests in the universe as Murta and Amurta, as tangible and intangible. Where the elements fire, water and earth are called Murta or tangible. Elements air and space are Amurta or intangible. And Yatcha, Satcha, and these five elements also form a Satyam, for example, in a way that earth and water and fire, these gross elements or the formed elements, tangible elements are called Sat. And Vayu and space, intangible elements only, are called Tyat. So, Sat and Tyat make five elements, means the whole universe. So it's called Satyam in a secondary sense. Upanishad explains how the universe, which is made up of five elements, also can be called Satyam because we think it is Satyam also. Everybody takes the universe, the world that we interact with, as tangible, as real. That's how our life is based on. So in a way, you can accept that yes, there is Satyam. That the prana, the universe is Satyam, except that there was Satyam in Sat and Tyat. So some kind of Vyavaharika Satyata is there also, so it's called Satyam. But it's not ultimate Satyam. That the universe appears Satyam, the real. is not because of itself, it is imparted that reality by something else, which is the real Satyam. Satyasya Satyam. So this is the expression that this Upanishad uses. So pranavai Satyam, etat Satyasya Satyam, tesham esha Satyam. That pranas or the five elements of this universe is Satyam. Inasmuch as it is a conglomerate of five elements, that's also called prana, or cosmic prana, or cosmic virat. Tesham esha Satyam. That prana, this cosmos, this tangible universe also is Satyam, made of five elements. Tesham esha Satyam, but his Atma is Satyasya Satyam. That the universe appears real to us is because there is something that imparts a reality. And so the substratum, Rama, what is it? Our Ramcharitmanas, Tulsidas ji described this. Ramakhyamisham Hanvya. Rajjo yatha her brahma. Says Tulsidas ji, Rajjo yatha ahe brahma. How ahihi of the snake appears real because of the Rajju. So also the world appears real because of whom? That is Rama. So that's why it's called Satyasya Satyam. And therefore, what is meant by Neti? Neti is that this Satya is negated. Satyasya, Shashthyanta Satyam is negated. For Satyam, Prasamanta Satyam. So thus, this Neti Neti enables one to negate everything that is negatable to arrive at the Satyam which is non-negatable. All of this is referred to in this particular verse. आपेशात् प्रतिबुद्धस्य ज्ञस्य स्वाभाविकं पदम् उक्तं न इत्यादि वाक्येन उक्तम्. The स्वाभाविकं padam, the essential nature, inherent nature of this conscious being who was woken up from the deep sleep, was stated by the statement neti neti, where it negates everything that is negatable, arriving at the non-negatable, which is the self. So Tika says, tam payana apesham, there must two efforts to the avagraha there. Tam payana apesham bodhayan chakara. Pesham, again and again he was shaken up, and bodhayan chakara, that man was woken up. Saha uttastau, then he woke up. He did not wake up simply by addressing him with his name, which belonged to gross body and subtle body. It did not belong to Atma, so he did not wake up. And so, everything had to be negated to wake him up. Yudhishthito, Supta Purusha, Ruhat Pandarvasa, Somaraja Nityadi, Pranavi Amantita, Nauttita. That Supta Purusha, that person who was sleeping, was addressed by his name, Ruhan Pandaravasa. Somarajan, names of Prana, he did not wake up. Payana to apishyamana, uttita heti, nidharita. But then when he was shaken up with hand, then he woke up. This is what was said there. By this, he did not, in Nirdharita means what? He did not wake up by when he was addressed by his name. He woke up only when he was shaken up. This was asserted there clearly. Tena prana indiradi swarupa linga sanghata vilakshana. Therefore, this linga sanghata, the subtle body, which is prana indriyadi linga sanghata, that Atma is different from prana and indriya because he did not hear, therefore there was no identification of organs of hearing, did not hear the names, so he's not the prana also. Sthula Sangata Vanya, and Sthula Sangata was there anyway, also did not wake up by addressing names, so that is also not Atma. Iti Pratipannam, this is what was arrived at. Pratipatti means reasoning. By reasoning you establish how Atma is not the prana, the sense organs, or this gross body. अतः एव जड़ विलक्षणत्वात् ज्ञान स्वभावः. So this is how Atma Anatma Viveka was carried out there, that Jada Vilakshanattvat, Atma is Jada Vilakshana, quite distinct from, contrary to the nature of Jada or unconscious. So Jnana Swabhava. Contrary to unconscious, consciousness is the nature. तस्य आपेशात् प्रतिबुद्धस्य ज्ञस्य त्वं पदार्थस्य स्वाभाविकं पदम्. So now it is established that he is not gross body, not the subtle body. So what is his nature? Swabhavikam padam. That dehoham, pranoham is aswabhavikam padam. Then what is your true nature? Parabrahma lakshanam uktam. Swabhavikam padam, essential nature is Parabrahma, that was stated there in the Upanishad. How? Kena. What is that said? You don't find a Vakya, you are Brahman there. In this Ajatasthatu Brahmana, this is the Vakya that, hey, Garga, you are Brahman. And still Ajatasatru managed to make Garga see that I am Brahman. So, Kena, by what was it? That statement which enabled Garga to see his true nature of Brahman. Na ityadi vakyena. By the vakya na iti. So what does it say there? Na iti. Here it is also there. Athata adesha neti neti tyarabhya. Athata adesha neti neti. नहीं एतस्मादिति न इति अन्यत् परमस्ति. There is no way other than this to communicate the true nature of Atma other than neti neti. Meaning that the self cannot be described in words. Self can only be arrived at. The swabhavikam padam, not the self is arrived at. The essential nature of self is arrived at by negating what is not essential. Inasmuch as Atma is already known, but known as a lump of essential and non-essential. That is why non-essential anatma, when negated, then essential remains. It doesn't have to do anything. You don't have to establish that. So, nahi etasmad, na iti anyat paramasti. Other than this, there is no way of communicating the essential nature of Atma. Asa ataha adeshaha neti neti. Asa, thereafter, satya swarupa nirdeshanantaram. After nirdesha, pointing out the satya or the upadhi. Atma always comes with upadhi. At the individual level as well as cosmic level. So Satyasya Satyam. First Satya is Upadhi. Second Satyam is Upahita. Therefore, Satya Swarupa Nirdeshanantaram. First Upadhi is described. Dvivava Brahmanarupe Murtam cha Amurtam cha. In this manner, the whole Upadhi of the Karyakarana Sangata is described. And it's called Satyam. Thereafter. So first it will become very clear to us as to what it is that we are taking as real. अथ सत्य स्वरूप निर्देशानंतरम यत् सत्यस्य सत्यम तदेव अवशिष्यते स्मार्ट. So now what remains to be described? What is described is satyam. So now what remains to be described is satyasya satyam. Since now satya satyam is only thing that remains to be described, yasmat atah, that is why तस्मात् तस्य ब्रह्मण नेति नेति आदेशः निर्देशः. So whatever else is there which can be described has been included now in Satyam. What the Satya does not include is Brahman, which is called Satyasya Satyam. Therefore, is Adesha. Satyasya Satyam or Neti Neti. तथा नेति नेति विविप्सया मूर्ता मूर्त तद वासनात्मक अविद्या तत्कार्य सर्व निषेध अवधित्वेन. So murta amurta, which is all evident to us, and not only murta amurta, which is evident or experience is to be negated, but even cause of that murta amurta avyakta, that also should be negated. Avyakta we don't experience. But this is Vyakta. Vyakta manifest cannot be unless the cause of Vyakta and manifest is there. So Neti Neti, Vyakta as well as Avyakta. Effect as well as cause. They call it Vasanatmaka, but you can call it unmanifest or Avyakta. Avidya, Tatkarya, Sunishtvena. So between these two, Neti Neti, everything cause and effect and cause. The growth is certainly Vasana. Murta and the Vasana. Or Vyakta and Avyakta. And so, Avidya Tatkarya. Everything so Nisheda Avaditvena. When all that is negated, which is negatable, meaning that now the teacher is able to make the student see that this, what is Anatma? Satya is not Atma, and therefore the cause of Satya also is not Atma. Now, students should have this much freedom to let go. It's not Atma, I don't want it. I'm not identity. So give the identity. What is becoming identification? That's all. There's no giving up here. The only thing is taken away is by way of identification. So Satya has been raised to the level of Satya, Mithya has been raised to the level of Satya by identification. So recognize it. So Murta Amurta Tad Vasanatmaka Avidya Tatkarya Nisheda Avaditvena Tat Sakshitvena Cha. Not only it is Nisheda Avadi, or the ultimate limit of negation, but where do you arrive? You arrive at the Sakshi. Now this is important. That what the residue that is there is of a different category from what is negated. What is negated is Sakshya, which is objectifiable. What remains after negation is Sakshi, which is the one that objectifies. Therefore, now the attention is shifted from what is negated to the one who negates. This is where Vedanta comes. So, Nisheda with Tat Sakshitvena. What remains is the light in which all of the Satya is illumined. And that light I am, which is not negatable, just be, that's what I am. Sakshat Brahman Nirdishtam Bhavati. Even the word Brahman is not used. Because Brahma also is a word anyway. Sakshi also is, everything is a word, which is its own limitation. So in negation, no word is used to describe. What cannot be negated? Sakshat Brahma Nirdishtam Bhavati. That is how Brahma is Nirdishtam is indicated or taught as the very Atma. Because from Sakshya you come to Sakshi Atma. That is what the student has to do in the process of negation. The negator cannot be negated. Nirvadikasya na sakshikasya cha nishedasya asambhavat. So what is without avadhi and what is not sakshya, that cannot be negated. And then when you come to yourself, in yourself, you already negated whatever is negatable here also. Just to remain then as you are. So the process of negation enables you to remain your own self. विषयी करता है आवंत यावंत पदार्थ ते सर्वे नकार विषय संत निर्दिश्यन्ते इति कृत्वा. So विषयी कर्तव्यः यावन्तः पदार्थः, whatever padarthas are there, विषयी कर्तव्यः which can be objectified, all this you describe as satyam. षष्ठ्यन्ति सत्यम सत्यस्य सत्यम. ते सर्वे नकाराद्वयस्य विषयः. This is called vipsa. It's not two negations, it is negation of everything. You know? So vipsa. The house to house search, something like that. That means searching every house, not only two houses. Sandirdisheti krutva iti asmat anyat param nirdeshanam nahi. There is no nirdeshanam, no way of teaching or communicating Brahman other than this. Ayam eva nirdesha brahmana. Therefore, this is the nirdesha of Brahman. Or neti neti, meaning that esmasmat brahmana vitare na iti uchyate na puna brahmayanaste iti uchyate. In neti neti, this is not the statement of shunya or asat. So, what is negatable? Brahmana vyatiriktam nasti. Tatai na iti uchyate. That there is nothing other than Brahman also you can say. You can say nothing stands apart from Brahman. Ata na iti uchyate na puna brahmayanaste iti. Neti is not said that Brahman is not there. There is nothing other than Brahman. So one way of saying is that everything different from Brahman is negated. Or you can say there is nothing other than Brahman. All there is Brahman. So that's non-dual. Therefore, Nishiddhat aparamartha bhutat anyat anishiddham param paramartha bhutam brahmastiti yata ata avagamyate. So this is how just as the sword is separated from the scabbard, here also the Atma is separated from Anatma. And this separation is by way of giving up identification. Neti neti means give up identity. You are not there, so give up identification. There is nothing has to be given up. And that way, Atma is separated from Anatma. I am very clearly seeing. So this is how it is done in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So the Tika said, Athata adesho neti neti arabhya satyasya satyamiti praname satyam teshame satyityan antena vakyena that we read. Kim vishayana vakyena. So what does that vakya do? Neti neti. Kalpidasya apanetruna pratishedakena. That is negates everything that is kalpidam, everything that is projected. Well, basically both ways. Not only anatma is projected, but what is also projected is the identification of anatma. He's not simply giving up and closing your eyes to anatma, because then you'll open the eyes again. In deep sleep it happens. But giving you identification is a way to negate everything. Recognize anatma, I am not this. Kalpidasya adhyastasya murta vasanashrayas rupasya apanetruna. What is kalpidam? What is adhyastam? Murta vasana ashrayasya avyakta. The cause which is the ashraya of the effect which is murta. Apanetruna pratishedakena vakyena. So by the vakya that negates everything, including the not only manifest but the unmanifest also. Neti neti vipsaya samasta karana karyatmaka upadi pratisheda dwara karana karyatmaka upadi. Karya, the gross body, karana, and karya, gross subtle causal body, everything. At the individual level or the cosmic level. That takes place simultaneously. You don't have to separately negate cosmic and the individual. Akhande Brahmani Parivasitena. Then Vakya ultimately enables one to arrive at the Akhanda Brahmani. No Khanda of what? Karta Bhokta, Bheda, etc. Or even Atma, Anatma Khanda also is not there because there is nothing other than Brahman. That's another interpretation. What is Brahman? So, in a very brilliant way, this Nisheda Vakya is analyzed, Bhashya in here also. So, the Tikakara said that, look, the Upanishad clearly tells you that you are Brahman. By negating what you are not, Upanishad clearly says that you are Brahman, then why are you imagining Bheda, etc.? Manah na khedaniyam. You should not unnecessarily strain your mind by imagining all kinds of Bheda, etc. because it's very complicated. Bheda in a given state, Veda in a given state, etc. And so it's very difficult to justify it and explain it. Only thing that can be explained is non-duality. Other than nothing can be properly explained. So manah na khedaniyam, that's what it says. We'll continue. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashyakritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeri Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.